Okay, let's talk about turn 54 and let's talk about this game. I don't have the 2H file for this turn, so we're going to have to make do with what we've got. I'll give you a quick update on what's happened and then do a little bit of a strategic check-in. So far as our war with Shiniyama went, Vanarus has been taken. There were some losses, not many. There was a big force inside, including 14 Ubers and 3 Bakimono Sorcerers. Unfortunately, we did lose this captain, but this was the only commander we lost. And that's really unfortunate, because we've lost our ability to sail now, but let's have a quick look. This sort of doubles down for me on the all-or-nothing nature of like late-game Magic. You bring a lot of it to the fight, you suffer almost no losses, you try and cheap out, and suddenly your attrition goes right back up. So this is going to be a typical mass flight into dropping on the enemy mage core and murdering them sort of scenario. It's worth noting that at this point, Shiniyama effectively capitulates and has gone AI. Because once they lose this battle and these cities, there's really nothing much more to do. And they knew this was going to happen. Nyotha, we moved in, we've broken the fort. Here, resistance took the form of some a Shuden Doji, an Uber, a White Mage, and about 89 units. And again, our losses were 2 Lobo Guard and 1 Meteorite Guard. Most of the killing here is done by the Meteorite Guards, who are buffed to High Heaven. A little bit of evocation damage by the King of Magma. And I have a feeling it's going to follow a pretty similar path. Only in this case, it looks like the Long Dead Horseman charged the King of Magma, got caught on his fire shield, and then he AoE'd them. So, oops, that's a bad use of Long Dead Horsemen, because they are very fragile. They have no resistance to fire, so if we watch that again in slow motion, what could otherwise be quite a devastating unit, this big block of Long Dead Horsemen charges, gets caught on the King of Magma. Just as he finishes buff script, a lot of them get killed by the Flame Shield as they charge him, and then he'll drop Falling Fires, which kills a remainder. These ones get hit by a flying group, which stops them before they manage to get to any of the commanders or mages. Mission complete. Great, so I would say Shiniyama's basically gone. This army will come west, and it will take responsibility for taking over Dunster, whereas these Tartarians can move on elsewhere to provide critical support. Clive Palmer and Peter Dutton can both fly. No, Peter Dutton can't fly, he can just run really, really quickly with map move 31, so in some ways he's faster than good old Clive there. Nyotha will be stormed, Tenvir will keep breaking down the walls, and then the game is almost done. Over in Urmor v Satis, Urmor's recovery spike continues, one more turn and they will be at pre-war levels. Satis is also holding parity with us, but you can see we're broadening the income gap, the province gap, and I presume the gem, resources and dominion gap. Our dominion score is now 12, 13 in the case of dominion conflicts, and we're going to keep ramping that up as time goes on. Also noticed that Marignon moved in as they said they would, so there's a Harbinger here, non-Euclidean angle, has taken 98, and then they're sieging this fort. Once this fort falls, and these ones do as well, that will be the end of Shiniyama. We can still see this big army of lizards here. Well, not big, a moderately sized army of lizards here, and I imagine there are more forces out here, whereas Urmor's probably garrisoned their throne here at 60. I need to get scouts in to have a look at what that front's looking like. Meanwhile, this big stack of Satisians has moved up one province, advancing, because this province was raided. What we want to see is we want to see that move on to this fortress and away from us. Because, let's look at the big picture here for a moment. How do each of the remaining players on the map win the game? I don't think Marignon can win. Let's just put it that way. I don't think Marignon can win, and I don't think Marignon's necessarily aiming to win. If they were to win, it would mean that they would need to gobble up a whole bunch of Satis at the absolute opportune moment, become the new Satis, and then somehow sweep through me, probably, or Urmor. So I'm ruling Marignon out. I'm also not going to attack Marignon. Marignon's been a good buddy and ally mate through the entire game, and for better or worse, I'm not keen on breaking that, even if their throne is looking quite juicy right now. let's look at the strategic position of the remaining 3 actors. I cast Arcane Nexus, which means starting next turn, I'm going to get somewhere between 60 and 70 pearls per turn from it. I'm also going to double down. I'm casting Gift of Nature's Bounty this turn, and I'm casting Earthblood Deepwell, or at least that's my plan. I'm going to cast Earthblood Deepwell and Gift of Nature's Bounty. That should give me a big refund on both of those from the Arcane Nexus being up, so I'll get a big surge of pearls. My income should go up dramatically, and I'll get even more Earth Gems. I'll go up to 38, nearly 40 Earth Gems per turn. I'm then planning to reinvest my pearls. I'm going to take this Super Astral Mage. I'm going to hide him in Sea Untamed. I'm going to empower him 1 Astral so he can reach Astral 9, even though that's expensive, so that when we hit Alteration 9, like that, I'll be able to wish, and wishing will break my gem economy even further. In other words, I'm clearly going to have the material advantage. I already have it. I already have the largest income. I would gamble on me having the largest research. I'm going to have even larger income next turn when Gift of Nature's Bounty goes up. I'm going to have a huge gem lead between my Gem Gen globals, particularly Arcane Nexus, but I'm also going to have Mother Oak and Earthblood Deepwell. So I'm going to have a huge gem lead. So I'm going to be in the material position. Satis probably has the positional advantage over Urmor, and Urmor has the long-term material advantage, but in the short term they're on the back foot because they don't know how to stop these Satisian doom stacks. How does each player win the game? Well, they're all panicking right now, I expect, because Arcane Nexus goes up. I'll know if Urmor changes sides because they have to cool down their nap with me, but Satis has no nap and has never asked for a nap, and has always not been keen on the idea, it seems. They've checked in to make sure I'm not going to attack them from time to time, but never wanted a nap. How does each player win the game? Satis has 1, 2, 3, 4 thrones. Safe. They need 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candidates for them. If they were to go just for what's near their front line, I would say their targets would be 1, 2, 3, 4, with the idea that they'll go for 4 and they might miss out on 1 and still take 3. That makes Satis very dangerous. It also means I need to be deeply concerned about 1, 2, 3. Because with this army positioned here, unless it moves off to 1, 2, 5, we have every reason to believe that there's a danger to this province. So I'm going to want to redeploy men from these forces over here pretty much as soon as possible. Satis would then want to seize 60, and then either 157 or attack Marignan and go for 52. That's how Satis wins this game. Urmor wins the game in a couple of ways. Urmor has 1, 2, 3, but they're close to 4, 5, 6, 7, or 4, 5, 6, 7. So the 2 win scenarios for them are they probably break some degree of land into Satis. They need this throne, at the very least. That gets them to 4. And then 5, 6, 7. Take 3 from me, all of which they border. They border 175, they border 162, and they border 123. Both of those are dangerous scenarios. How dangerous depends on whether Urmor's willing to nap break. Because siege strength is never going to be a problem for Urmor. They can bring 1,000 undead and break the wall. So that's not a problem for them. The problem will be the nap cooldown if they choose to respect it. So that's how they win. I win basically by stalling this game out. I can throne rush, but I'm just going to snowball at this point with the power of gems and income and globals behind me. My 2 possible win approaches, I guess, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think my 2 approaches would be 5, 6, 7. Or, alternately, 5, 6, and then, 7, attacking both. There's not really an... Sorry, cut out there for a moment. There's not really an easy iteration of this where I don't attack Satis. And I don't think there's a play for Satis where he doesn't attack me. So I need to be cautious, but I want to placate this because the longer it takes for hostilities to start, the better it is for me. In particular, I need time to fortify this province. I need time to get a fort up, I need time to get armies over here, and I need time to place defences on my other fortresses. I also need time to take these armies, so all these troops, and start moving them back and filling in these provinces here. I need to start putting military force in larger concentrations on these coasts. And then I need to make defensive preparations. I'll talk about some next turn, but right now my key defensive preps need to be around these two forts. And the prep is not going to be large numbers of troops. I need troops for attacking and breaking forts. It's going to be stacking them full of Star Children and giving them all water bottles. Well, not giving them and then setting them to research. Having water bottles in reserve, and whenever someone hits a fortress that I'm not expecting, give 5 or 6 Star Children water bottles at once from the reserves in the lab, and assassinate all their commanders while dropping remote attack spells on the force that is besieging me, because it's presumably going to be larger than the force inside. That's where I think this game is. So what are the priorities for me? The priorities for me are 1, get Gift of Nature's Bounty, Earthblood Deepwell, get Wish, get all of that online, and really just turn my economy into a freaking singularity where it has infinite freaking mass, and just be able to outspend everyone by 10 to 1. Preferably, and then to make sure no one else wins before I can bring that Titanic material advantage into play. So I will be researching. I'll hit Alteration 8 this turn. Alteration 9 shouldn't take long. I'm at 3,700 research, which is a bit barky mad, even at turn 54. I'm going to start redeploying to defend this throne and to place threats on Satissa's coast, hoping that that will then discourage Satis from attacking. I'm going to watch this war between Satis and Ermor very closely, noting that if either of them wins dramatically, it's a chance for them to win the game. In particular, Satis can win the game without attacking me. If they take 3 of Ermor's thrones, they win. If they take 2 of Ermor's thrones and 1 of Marignon's thrones, they win. This is all very dangerous. I may have the advantage over Satis in terms of material, way more than I did even 5 turns ago. 5 turns ago, there was this point here, where we were very close in terms of material, and we're still close in terms of actual military projection. My advantages are going to be in research and gems. So I'm going to fix that. We're going to come back in turn 55 and see if anyone hits the oh shit button. See you then. Alright, it's turn 55. Barnaby Joyce cast Earthblood Deepwell. Last Unburned Australian cast Gift of Nature's Bounty. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you 16,000 gold income. 16,324 pounds of gold per month. I ran this forward, and I think it works out at US prices, a government income of 4.6 billion US dollars per year in tax revenue, which is not bad for a government in middle-age technology. So Gift of Nature's Bounty is one of the nicest spells in Dominions. It means that everything in your land is just better. All life in the God's Dominion is blessed, grain grows more quickly, the mustard tastes better, the ducks are fatter, and all living creatures mate and give birth to young. The income of lands of the God's Dominion is greatly increased. So basically, life is now really awesome in Rlyeh. We've completed our economic modernization, it seems, and we have big dollars, big dollars. We also have big gem income. I'm not even going to count that. That's ludicrous gem income, and Arcane Nexus absorb power equal to 93 Astral Pearls, which is, not surprising considering that we put 2 globals up that turn and got 25% refunds on them. However, Astral 5 is empowering, so that's where all of our Astral Pearls have gone. Too bad, so sad. We're also back to Tarts. We're going to rename these and get them ready to deploy. Corey Bernardi is back in 18, ready for service against Satis if required. We've got this Snaky Boy ready to go. And we're Gift of Reasoning this Tart here, the Tartarian Cyclops, which is another Tartarian chassis. So the Cyclops is similar to the Titan. It has full slots. It has 2 attacks instead, so it's got a Thunder Fist and Lightning, and I think it's got a little more shock resist. And the magic paths are different, I think, with a greater tendency towards Earth. But we'll see once we Gift of Reason it. Is that one feeble-minded? Yeah, it is, so we'll need time for it to recover, but that's okay, and we're summoning another Tartarian. So, we have 16,000 income, we've got basically infinite gems, life is good. Just to be careful here, we're twice spawning the god, so we're taking a turn off Tart Summoning, just because I want to hold up Gift of Nature's... He's holding up Gift of Nature's Bounty and Mother Oak, so just in case, twice spawning, because I do not want those globals to go down, which is great. We're moving in from Vanarus, we seize Neotha, minimal casualties. We lost a few things to arrows, which is unfortunate, but we did find a bunch of items on the enemy. You can see this was, again, a pretty well defended area, 13 Ubers, Tengu King, Mound King, 107 units. Our losses were 22, 11 of whom were Meteorite Guards and 6 were Lobos. Don't count these as actual casualties. We can endure. Like, the era in which I cried over individual Slave Mage losses is basically gone at this point. Just followed the standard pattern of buff, fly, jump, kill everything. And we're mass regenning, so we're protected against most things. Great. And the plus side is when we hit Alt 9, which will be in 2 turns, we'll get Army of Lead and Gold as well as Wish, which is superb, which will allow us, instead of giving plus 10 natural prot, to give plus 20 natural prot, and to give either MR or Fire Resist, which means if there's a Fire King in the army, we can Fire Resist Flamestorm. Bang, beautiful. Army wipes while the infantry is still unbeatable. Love it. We're doing some site searching with our teleporters because we don't need them right now. So, life is good. Life is really, really, really good. I'm building a shit ton of temples, and I've started doing things like... where am I? Mass production. I'm trying to remember where I built temples. I'm mass producing new forts and temples all along the Cetician boundary. Temples here, temples there, temples everywhere, because I've got the money now. I've also restarted Mind Blaster production, which is something I haven't done since the early game, because I can afford 50 gold units. And for siege strength, I'm going to start producing, like in here, very large numbers of Lobo Guard, because they don't take resources and rec points, but they do provide 1.4 siege strength each. So there's a couple of places where I'm recruiting quite large numbers of them, and in other places I will have restarted Mind Blaster production. But mage and item production is going absolute full tilt ahead. Life seems good, but I'm also worried. I'm also worried, and I'm worried because this army didn't move. It's still here. Ermor even got behind it, cut it off, and raided it, which I assume cuts income from these 2 provinces. This is still too close for comfort. And I don't know what's happening out here, but I'm trying to get that info from Ermor, but they're just being a little bit coy at the moment as to how the war's going, which can mean 2 things. Either the war is going better than expected for Ermor, and he doesn't want me to know because he doesn't want me to intervene to stop him winning, or the Ermor is losing and he doesn't want me intervening to vulture. I don't like either of those answers. If we look at the score graph, we can see Ermor took some losses but still made net gains that turn. In terms of provinces, Ermor retook a little bit of land, and our income just went into the freaking stratosphere. And as we spread our dominion, particularly once Shinoyama is actually vanquished and our dominion keeps spreading over these provinces, like the capitals in particular, life will be very, very good indeed. Rlyeh itself is now making 1,650 income, which is not half bad. We're going to continue to mine hunt and break this down. However, one thing that I'm nervous about is this army here, because if I were Cetis, I would rush. I've thought about this a great deal, and I was like, if I was Cetis, I would rush. Maybe this is paranoia on my part, but let's assume for a moment that Cetis looks at all of my globals and decides they can't either practically dispel them, nor can they beat me while I have that sort of advantage in income, because eventually I'm just going to roll over him. I think in that situation, just continuing to fight Ermor in the trenches is not something he will do. What's possible is that this army will come for me. And it doesn't need to do much. It doesn't need to go very far. It just needs to take and hold this province long enough for him to reach his other targets. And I don't know how long that will take. He may already be here, for all I know. So, what I'm doing is I'm moving this Troll King with a pair of Earth Boosters, because there's no lab here yet. I'm building one just in case. Palisade will go up this turn. If he doesn't attack this, if he does attack this turn, then I'm going to lose this Troll King and these items and whatever, unless my retreat strip goes off. If he doesn't, I'll have a Palisade up, and I'll have an Earth Mage inside, and at that point I'm much more secure. I'll show you why next turn or what my plan is there. It may be paranoia, but maybe not. I am going to speed up and try and take this fortress this turn while moving all these forces here, and then it's only 2 turns to make it to the front line. Other groups of units are redeploying, we're massing up, and we'll position ourselves in a big line along the coast here, with staging points in each of these fortresses, plus the new rock walls that we're building here. Hopefully our Dominion will spread out and limit the disease in our staging areas at the very least. Hopefully we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 Tartarians based in this province ready to deploy when all things happen, and we'll have Pyrofligos ready to go as well. I'm feeling really good, because if I was a betting man, I'd say now, if nothing strange happens, I'd win the game. But I've identified a few strange things that could in fact happen, and my every priority now has to go to making sure those don't happen. I have to mentally turn a switch in my brain which says I now have to go from spending resources conservatively and limiting my losses to being overreactive, to accepting attrition. If I lose 3 men for every 1 that I kill in the battles to come, if I spend 3 gems for every gem of damage I do, then I'm going to win. I just need to make sure that my instincts towards being really conservative in my expenditure of men, material, and gems doesn't come back to bite me. So let's go to turn 56 and start planning where this can go from here. Hopefully by that point Shineyama should be almost broken. This fort should come in here and break Dunster, which will leave it as the last fort to take, and hopefully Marignon will crack this one soon. We're getting there. It's looking good. It's only it's only in the 50s, and I think we're already in a dominant position. But let's see where we are turn 56. Turn 56. Well, what do you think that bloody means? Plus this. This Cetician army moved back to, in inverted commas, counter-raid this one province where there was a mummy last turn. Didn't advance, it moved back 1 province, and it got larger. It got reinforced, and not by nothing. So, let me tell you what's happening, because Ermor has now sounded the alarm. A lot of alarm bells have gone off for people this turn. The first is everyone's looking at me and going, holy shit, you got to stop this. You can't let the game continue, or Rlyeh is just going to roll over all of us. Well, Cetis has a plan. Cetis apparently has this province well locked down with a massive army. I don't know where all these forces came from. They must have been in my blind spot. So that fort there is locked down, and locked down hard. This army, with a good number of mages and huge numbers of troops, has advanced past this one. And I guarantee you that next turn it is going to move here, and the turn after that it is going to move there. 1, 2, seize 3, capture in 4. This army has moved back to here. It has 2 hypothetical moves. It can move to Nabar because he wants another capital to try and slightly offset this, but I don't think that's what he's going to do. Nabar has been the bane of so many people so far, so I think he's coming to Apricia. 1, 2, 3. And Ermor says he's on 157. As terrifying as that freaking is. Actually, I need to go back and check the logs as to whether he said he's on 157 or whether he's coming to 157. But either way, oof. Sorry, just give me a moment to think about this. So, okay, so I think the Cetis is throne rushing. I think Cetis is throne rushing, and looking at this, assuming Ermor cannot defend this throne, let's count this as lost. Let's assume Ermor can't defend this throne. Let's count it as lost. That's 2. which means Satis needs to find one more. And as I see it, they've got 3 candidates. 88, 123, or 52. This army clearly looks like it can beat whatever is on 88. Clearly. I'm not sure what Ermor has in reserve in their capital versus what's deployed on the front lines, but I'm not sure if Ermor can stop this. So, here's my plan. I'm going to wait 1 turn. I think I'm going to wait 1 turn to actually take any offensive action, because if Satis doesn't attack me, I don't want to have been the one who fired the first shot. But I am going to redeploy basically everyone I have who can reach Apricia. 1, 2, 3 is going to go there, or at least get as close as they can, except for the ones that are needed to storm this castle. So in particular, I'm getting an Air Queen in, and a few other things, and most importantly, I'm casting a spell that I love but I've never seen used by anyone else, Iron Walls. Iron Walls is expensive. It costs a very large number of earth gems, and it costs more gems to maintain it for any useful period of time. However, it adds 1,000 fortification strength to your walls. Palisades have 100. There are 460 lizards in this army, and the siege defense here is negligible. It's like 30. So 400 and let's call it 430. Let's call it 500 siege strength. If I can pump my walls to 1100, then even if he moves on this turn, he'll only bring the walls down to 600, and it will take 2 more turns to break. With that, there's enough time for all these forces which are redeploying to these intermediate provinces to make it. And that's important. So I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to put up a little bit of province defense to gem bait, just in case he comes in. I have lots of money now, so I can afford to gem bait. By the way, Dominion strength is now 14, 15 in the case of Dominion conflict. Not bad. But I need a plan for these as well. And here's what I'm thinking. I need my research this turn because I want to Great Altine and start breaking into evocation. I want evocation now because I want Flames from the Sky. I want Flames from the Sky as an army buster. However, next turn what I'm thinking I do is I take all of these shamans and I move them to 78. So that should be, he moves here this turn. Next turn, I move all my mages here to Ograthon, and he moves onto the throne and cracks it, but he hasn't stormed it. I then take this gigantic ball of magi and shamans, form the world's biggest fuck-off communion with like 24 slaves or something, and go and destroy him. Losing maybe 3 mages to every mage he loses, whatever, I don't care. That's fine. But I need to be able to throw him off this throne. That neutralizes that throne as a threat, which means I instead need to find out if I'm capable of making sure this throne... Like, I need to protect one of this throne, or this throne, or this throne. Or this one, hypothetically, but I think these two are the ones that are particularly in danger. I think my armies can do this as long as, if Iron Walls goes up, I think I buy enough time for my armies to come in, and my armies should be able to make a mess of this force. I can also teleport phase it as long as it's not on top of one of my forts, and kill it with Air Queens, but it hasn't come to that yet. So I'm just very pensive this turn because I've been playing this game for months. I've been playing this game for literal months, and I'm now dealing with the prospect of having really quite a substantial lead and making sure I don't miss something obvious blocking a throne rush. I think the correct move is what I'm doing. I think the correct move is planning for this like communion death ball to hit 88 to counter his push onto it. I think I need to Iron Walls and prepare to hold 1, 2, 3. And then I think the third part of the equation is I think I need to get targeting data from Ermor. I think I need to gear up some water boosters, and then I think as soon as Satis's armies are confirmed on target, I need to cast Murdering Winter, because Ermor's Dominion is cold 3. And these lizards may have more than human HP, but that's not going to save them from cold 3 Murdering Winter. And it's not like I don't have the gems. So I'm going to stop spending my water gems. I'm going to save them. I'm going to tell Ermor that if Satis attempts a throne rush, he can call in fire support from Murdering Winter. And hopefully I'll get to Evocation 9. And once I get to Evocation 9, I can cast Flames from the Sky with Pyroflegos, which won't be bad. And as soon as it's time to move in, which is probably the turn, it's probably the turn after next that I'm ready to deploy against Satis, because as you can see, I'm getting all my armies and forces into position. I'm getting these Tartarians ready to deploy. I'm just waiting for a couple of them to recuperate. I'll rename this one when she's ready to deploy. At that point, I probably need a plan to attack Satis and deny them at least one of their thrones at home, because if I can rob them of thrones at home, then even if they can roll over Ermor and take theirs, they won't win. Which means I need way more Lobo Guard. And I probably need to send my research parks out. Okay, so here's the plan. This turn we absorb the blow if it comes. I might be paranoid here. I'm going to feel really embarrassed next turn if Satis doesn't attack. But this turn we absorb the blow. Next turn we prepare the counterattack. Turn 3, turn 4 we launch it, with the intention of making sure that Satis does not get the thrones they need to end this game, because that would be just freaking tragic given my material position now. So give me a minute. I'm going to adjust this turn a little bit more. Then I'm going to connect to the server, copy my changes, and go from there. See you all in turn 57.